are you, love?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Oh, thank you. No, I so appreciate when somebody puts all the extra effort into something. So I
Oh,
feel you did that. So I'd love to show your
thank
film on
you.
the 22nd. I love the theme.
Thank
So yeah.
you. I have chills when you say that. It means a lot that you recognize it because, when we do this, it's like you never know how people will receive it. And that's the scariest part. So the way that you've responded, I also appreciate so much because my heart is definitely in this project for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, you could totally see it. No, for sure. I love, the beginning, the landscape is wonderfully captured.
Thank you.
I love all the nuance you put into it. So I definitely appreciate you and your work. Yeah,
Thank
no, I'm
you.
so happy that you chose to be a part of our festival. Yeah.
I was pretty selective when I was submitting because obviously there's a cost, that's associated with this, submitting films. And so I wanted to really submit it to the places I felt it was the right audience or platform or even judges seeing it. I didn't want to just share this with anyone. So when I read the mission of your festival, it really spoke to me and, appreciate the fact you're lifting female voices and narratives. And I think it's so important right now, especially more than ever. So thank you for what you do and giving a platform for an artist like me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. Thank you. We'll get into it. I will introduce you. I almost kind of wanted to, and I felt we were going well too. I know. Maybe I'll leave this part in too.
Sure. Yeah, it's authentic, right? I mean, this is just us
Yeah.
connecting.
So I'll just say, everybody, this is Aly Mang. She submitted a wonderful film called The Beginning to our festival. As you just heard me say, I really love the nuance. The camera work is wonderful. I really love the theme. So we'll get into all of that. Just give us a little bit of background on yourself. What were the steps in your journey before coming to this project?
Sure. Wow. So I am someone who has wanted to act, sing, dance, perform ever since I was very young. My father and my uncles actually were on Broadway when they were young. So I was kind of born into a family that really celebrated the arts and, has a history of, Broadway performing, all of that good stuff. And my grandmother, who was a stage mom to them, saw the little acting bug in me when I was very young. So I was really lucky to have my grandmother really kind of, encourage me to audition at a young age. I auditioned for, Miracle on 34th Street and Broadway shows when I was like 6 or 7 years old. So I've been auditioning and in the acting world, as long as I can remember. And I always loved musical theater. But later in life, transitioned to, realizing I'm more of an actress than a singer and a dancer. And so I studied at Lee Strasberg at a young age. I did all the high school shows. I performed at the Paper Mill Playhouse, which is in New Jersey. I went to college for business, so I took a detour. But then, post college, I was in the working world and realized, this isn't me. I'm playing a role by being in the corporate world. This is just not me. I have to get back to my roots. So I, went back into acting, went back to school, but this time with a focus on acting for camera, commercials, and, TV and film. Fell in love with it. And began to book some work, which was great. But along the way, I also just became really interested in the whole creation process. And I went to school to learn about the art of making a film and kind of fell in love with all of that. And I love to write. So I did receive advice with my career that if you're not getting the work or you're not getting the roles you want to be cast in, make it yourself. So I started to really realize if there's not a door that's opening for me, like I'm going to make the door. And, if it's not going to go anywhere, it's a learning process. It's a growing process. It's experimental. There's so many benefits to doing this. It's not just like, let me get my work seen or like win awards. Like for me, it's more like, I love this. This is my passion and I want to be the best I can be. So I've grown being an actor from getting on the other side of the camera, which has been great. But I've also fallen in love with the whole process of filmmaking. So I'm continuously learning and growing, and that's sort of my evolution and my story on how I became a filmmaker, in a very quick nutshell.
That's wonderful. You gave so many nuggets for people to really draw from, right? Like, of following your passion and exactly making the door. Because you could look at like into what you were brought up before about lifting female voices up. Like you could look at, casting sheets and you'll see the only roles for women sometimes will be prostitute number one, prostitute number two,
Yeah. I would be
mistress
cast,
number one.
right, more as like the sexy girl, to be honest. I was getting a lot of that. And I'm sure we'll get into the film, but the reason I wrote Eve, this character is honestly something I wanted to embody, or something that I connected to. And that's the thing. I want to tell stories that I'm passionate about, that I can embody in a very truthful way. I feel like I'm going to be the best actress I can possibly be if I'm playing a role that really speaks to me. So oftentimes, as an actress, you want to try different things. You want to play a drug addict or something like you aren't in real life, just to have that experience or play or whatever. But at the end of the day, if that's not who you are, the work isn't going to speak the same way. So I really want to create roles where it speaks to me. I can be in that truth. I can deliver that truth so that it's really felt when the audience is watching the performance.
Right. Beautifully, beautifully said. Yes, let's get into the film a little bit. It is called The Beginning for a reason. What gave you this idea to go in this direction? Because it's beautiful, but I don't know too if you like thought like, wow, well, this could alienate some people as well. Like, I know. Like,
Okay, so this is
so let's
so
get into
we'll give away a little bit, I
Yeah.
guess, a teaser. But so when I created this film, it kind of speaks to a broad audience in some ways, because when you're just watching it at face value, black and white, it's really about a girl coming into herself, or a young woman who's coming into herself and making decisions to come into who she's meant to be. That it's really about the relationship with her and her father, and her and Adam, this love interest, and just her choosing what feels right to her and following her heart. So it's really relatable, because it's just about a woman just following her truth, following her heart, making brave decisions, and that story unfolding. But as we're going to give away, because it's okay, this is, the modern day story of Adam and Eve. I'm telling the story of Adam and Eve through the lens of Eve, and showing the perspective of why she made the choice she did. So, as the world, we all know the story is, Eve sinned and she ate the apple, and she's a sinner and she's bad. And that's the story. But I really looked into that and kind of questioned, well, hold on, everybody. Like, can we dissect this a little? What drove her to make that choice? Where did that come from? Why did she eat the apple? And I wanted to look at it from her perspective and the female lens, to really kind of see if what she did was sinning and she's bad, or if maybe this is a woman who made the very first brave decision that's ever been made in all of time. And I look at the story more like she is brave and courageous, and she was willing to sacrifice, and I wanted to highlight all the things that make a woman powerful, and all that good stuff.
Gotcha. That's unique. That's a different take. I'm sure a lot of people haven't thought of it that way. So yeah, that's really, yeah, no, I can really appreciate the ingenuity of going towards a story like that, because like I said, it could really divide some people. Like a lot of people might just say, oh yeah, it's a Christian film and she's telling a modern day telling of Genesis, or like how you have just explained it. So either way, it could
Definitely. Well, for sure.
think.
I was definitely worried about it a tiny bit for a second, but then I wasn't, because Well, one, I will just say this. I think art is amazing because it sparks conversation, right? It's giving us a chance to look at things in a different way we've never looked at it before. And I also think it's an opportunity for, ways to just kind of explore things. And I've always been fascinated with religion from a very young age. Very curious, lots of reasons in my family history of why. But for me, this comes from a place of just being curious and wanting to dissect it and wanting to talk about it and just kind of pick it apart a little bit. I do see how it could potentially be controversial, but at the same time, I think that's what art's supposed to do. It's supposed to spark conversation and let's talk about it. Let's look at it from a new perspective. And I think that's what I was kind of trying to do here. But it really came from a place of curiosity. And to be honest, art imitating life in many ways. What's really unique about this film is that you see me before I was pregnant, during my pregnancy, you see me pregnant, and you see potentially a baby at the end of this movie.
Right.
So for me, there was 4 years of my actual life being put into this movie. And I think motherhood is obviously at the center of it in many ways. And I think that that's maybe part of the story that's being left out as well. It's like part of the reason, Eve was driven in this direction is I think she wanted to be her own creator. She wanted to be her own goddess. This is the story of the goddess. It's really the story of this female empowered decision, but driven towards motherhood ultimately and birthing and all of that. So I related to it, I think, because I was going through it in my own personal life. And there's a lot of mirroring there. So
Wow.
you'll see me in this film a lot in my true life.
Wow. Yeah, no, I think it's such a brave decision to, kind of put a lens on this because as you said, if art isn't causing you to question, then it might as just well be paint drying on a wall, right? I think.
Right.
Yeah, so no, again, bravo. It's a beautifully done piece. I thought, I don't know if you did this on purpose, or if it was just something, but the guy that plays Lou, he could be like Keanu Reeves's body double.
Oh, it's so funny you said that. I'm not allowed. He is Keanu Reeves' body double. Yeah, so that's actually how we met. So years ago, one of my first experiences acting on a big blockbuster set was I was in John Wick 2. I did some featured work, and Mac is his name, Mac Kerr. He was on set because he was Keanu Reeves' body double. And we became really good friends. And, as actors, when you meet someone and you just connect, you motivate each other and support each other on the journey. And we just always stayed in touch. We worked on some projects together. And when I was writing the script and I'm like, oh, I think I know who could play this part, he came to my mind. And, for him getting in front of the camera, not as a stunt double or not getting the actual character work, he was like, oh, this is a character I could really have fun with and play with. And he has a bit of an accent and he really just had a good time with it. And the action you see, he did a lot of stunt work for us. And I wish I captured more of that, but we had some fun with a fight scene and everything. But yes, he does look like Keanu Reeves. Awesome.
Yeah, and even the moves, I'm like, oh, he's John Wicking really hard.
Yes. Awesome.
No, I thought it was great, because it really amplifies the violent aspect of our world, it's so emblematic of, the theme of the Bible of how, so I just really like what you captured here. I'm not gonna lie, you made a really great film.
That part of it was supposed to also be the world I was creating was almost I'm glad you said John Wick, because it's the bar, hell, is supposed to be almost comic book. It's supposed to be Marvel or gritty. I lit it in a way that was reminiscent of John Wick, the purple and the red and all that. And then the farm and everything else you see, it's very whimsical and it's more like Disney. So those were my inspirations. It was Disney brought to life, and then it's John Wick brought to life in a way. So those were in my inspirations when I was filming this, for sure.
That's great. I think that's such a teaching moment for people to not, stay in a box of, oh, this film has to, kind of be congruent along one spectrum of feeling and vibe and motif. Like, no, you
Oh
can break
no.
out into different worlds,
Yeah.
and different moods all in one place. And it just enriches the fabric of what you're creating.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
yeah.
I wanted to create two very separate worlds. And that was what was hard in many ways, was like, how do I bring it together? And that's where the music came in. So it was like I created this one very distinct world and this other world. And it was like, how do I merge it? And that's where the music came in, and the weaving of that, and the sound effects you hear with like the whispers and things.
Yes.
So, it was hard to tie it together, but I really felt like it had to be different for it to work.
Wow. No, no, again, I can't say enough good things. It was very well executed.
Thank
And
you.
I wonder, so like, is there a part two? Like, are you going to follow?
Ah, it's so funny because when I do these projects, I feel like I'm creating the world, I encapsulate this like a lesson, and then I like leave it behind. But the reason I kind of wanted to make this is because obviously it can continue. I kind of felt like this could be like episode one almost. And then it's like we could go through the actual story. I mean, I could go through the story of the Bible, interpreting it in a new way. But that wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't my intention when I created it, but it absolutely can expand and go into other things. And these characters are like, they can go in so many different directions. So I'm not opposed to it. And that's why the festival circuit is so great, because I want to see how audience respond to it. And if there is an audience who's enjoying this and enjoying this world I've created or the characters, and, I almost want to have like surveys for people to give me feedback, because if they like it, the audience will be the one to tell me, hey, I want to see more of this. Or, if this is just a perfect little package with a bow on it, I leave it behind and I'm just proud of it as its own standalone project.
Right,
But
right. Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that was well said. Yeah, no, because I just, like I didn't know, like, because sometimes people will do that, just make the short so they can, you know,
yeah.
build an audience for the feature. Had you done, I don't believe in reading your bio that this is your first film, though, right? You had done something
So
previously?
I did one other film previously, and that was a story, also kind of like a personal experience put into a movie, but it was more of a love story, but it dealt with some themes of like grief and loss. But it was kind of inspirational, and kind of, again, I kind of look at dark things and then find the light. I think that's just me as a person, me as an artist. I think I'm very into duality and good and evil, and questioning things and looking at it in different ways. So I took a topic that was very heavy, and I turned it into something that was positive. So it kind of has a similar theme, and love is at the center of that story as well. So I think that's maybe like my genre, like I like to play in, which is a little bit of grittiness, but then ultimately it's a love story.
Beautiful. That's great. Yeah, to compare and contrast the two. Yeah, and kind of put it both out there so people can see, the difference. And
Mhm.
yeah, no, very nice, very nice. What do you see for yourself then in future work? Like, you're not sure yet if there might be a part two, but are you already working on something else? Um,
Yeah. So being creative. I'm someone who, like, I have ideas come to me in very weird times. I just get like, oh, inspired, and then I just start writing. So I have written a ton of things. But for me, the process of, writing, directing, producing, doing all of it, I have to really be excited about a topic to want to go into like the filmmaking mode, because I've recognized just how much work it takes to put something like this together. So, I want it to be something that I know I can invest time and effort and, money into, that I'm really going to be like proud of it when it's done. And I really want each project to get better and better. So I'm learning and I'm growing as I do each one. But I have different things on deck and I'm just not sure which one I want to do next. All different genres, but it is funny. I can see this film being made into something bigger. So, we'll see. Definitely have ideas for it, but written out, not yet. Yeah.
I wonder, because you touched on something too, the money aspect of it, right? So all filmmakers, that's always on their minds too, just nature of the beast, so to
Yeah.
speak. So how did you raise money for this? If you don't mind telling a bit about that journey
Sure.
for other people to learn from.
Yeah, I guess I'm fortunate enough that, I have another day job and, my family is very supportive. And so I was able to personally fund this particular project. But I was also, very resourceful. For me, I have access to certain things. So if I can give a tip to anyone out there, it's like, first, before you even worry about money, first look at like your resources. Like, what do you have at your disposal? I had a farm and I had access to horses. So I thought, wow, I need to write a script incorporating that, because right there, the production value goes up. In my mind, I could film the animals, I could film the horses, this beautiful scenery. It inspired me to write the story because I had been in it and I recognized, I don't have to spend all this money. I can use nature at my fingertips. So a lot of the movie is so beautiful, but I used nature. I shot outside, I shot a farm, things that are free. So that's the first thing. Second is I have established, a really great community of support around me over these years, through acting classes and school. Everyone wants to collaborate. Everyone wants to work together and get the chance and opportunity to create something. So, for me, a lot of the cameras or equipment we used or lighting and things, these are friends like collaborating and working together. Like a lot of this stuff, you're not even, again, spending money on, or wardrobe or things. Like we all brought our own wardrobe and brought our own pieces of the puzzle together. So I think the biggest thing I can say is before you even worry about a budget, write a script around what you have, use the resources around you, and then obviously figure out the investment you have to make. And, if you're committed in yourself, I look at it as what you put in, you get back. So I feel like, yes, it's expensive to make a film, but I'm investing in myself and I'm also investing in my career. So that expense to me is like, I don't stress about it because I know it's going to come back someday. I know it's like what I put in is coming back. It already is coming back just in this conversation of you appreciating what I created. I mean, that alone is like the reward. But monetarily, who knows? Maybe I'll share this and get funds back from it or something. But, again, it's not the goal to focus on the money. It's more just like, do what you need to do. It's like going to college. It's like, it's an investment in yourself. You just have to do it. And, there are great platforms you can use to raise money. And maybe if I'm going to do a feature, it's something I would consider. But I'm very good and savvy. So when I did go to school, I went to school for business. So I do have a business background. So I think that's why I know how to kind of plan and organize and be strategic. And yeah, I will say a lot of what you're seeing is stuff that I kind of put together for free in many ways. And then the money I did put in, I just felt like obviously it's an investment. So.
Right. That's a great perspective. Yeah. Because, I hear a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I have this great story, but it would take so much, and it's like, yeah, so, okay, we'll start with one scene of it or, do that one later and,
Or like an iPhone. The iPhones are amazing these days. Like I went and spoke to my high school for career day, and I met a young boy who's an aspiring filmmaker. And right, he was saying to me like, but I can't do it because I don't have the funds or I don't have the equipment. I'm like, no, yes, you do. Like shoot a script outside, use your iPhone. You can make a beautiful art. Look at the Blair Witch Project. I mean, you can make something. It's like, if you're an artist, I think like that's the whole point. You're able to problem solve and come up with creative ideas, and it can be groundbreaking. Your crappy old camcorder can actually be like the next big thing. I shot on camcorder in college. Like I've always sort of in a weird way, like been making movies. I went to college and I brought camcorder like back in the day with me, and I filmed everything. My roommates like probably hated me because I would be like, hey guys, like we're gonna do like college MTV Cribs, and I would like film our dorm room. I used to make up skits, everything. And that camera I still have, and I could film a movie on that, because maybe that's what's going to add like the grittiness or like the cool nostalgic feeling to it. So I just think it's like pick a time period. If you're shooting something that takes place in the 80s, use a camera that's like cheap from that time period. Just think you have to get creative. When there's a will, there's a way. I'm very big into that.
You're so right. You're so right. I love your attitude. You're so inspirational.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think when you love something and you're passionate, like I don't know, I'm big on just find a solution. You can do it. You could do anything you put your mind to. I really believe in life. Like the only limits you have are the ones you place on yourself, all those cliches. But I mean, there's always a way. And I just am very big on like, do it, just go for it. And I don't know. I think the people who have that attitude and mentality are the ones who are successful. Because I think mindset is everything. If you say, I can't do it before you even start, and then you're never going to do it. So you just kind of have to be brave. You have to make choices that are similar to Eve in my film. It's sort of that same energy. It's like, just do it, be courageous, be bold, and maybe what you do is going to be the next groundbreaking thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That, the Tangerine comes to mind, that project with Sean Baker, I believe. He shot a whole film on his iPhones and won awards. It's so groundbreaking. It's a great story. Yeah, no, it's true. Because if you're feeding the I can't, you're just feeding fear, right? And nothing gets accomplished that way.
Yeah. I mean, look at all the people who are most successful these days. It's like these TikTok kids. I mean, they make these silly videos and they go viral, but the reason they do is because you're drawn to it because it's real, it's authentic, it's from the heart. They're not doing it for any reason other than like, this is me, this is who I am. So kind of love what is happening. I think change can be a good thing. And I don't know, I just think embracing being real is a good thing. So if you're someone who doesn't have the money, like that's okay, and embrace that and create what you can with what you have access to.
Exactly. Wow. I think that's a really great point to leave off on. I really appreciate your time, Aly. It's been wonderful speaking with you.
Yeah,
and again, great film.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having us part of the festival. We're super excited to share it with your audience. And if there's any follow-up questions or anything, please reach out. And I'm always happy to chat and dive into all this fun stuff. Yeah.